Oftentimes you'll see with the confusion surrounding fascism that it is not only in the term itself where the confusion exists, but even under some of the policies underneath fascist governments. And specifically speaking about the economic policies of fascism. Now, in the fascist philosophy video, I highlight how there are no set economic structures for fascist governments. It's fascist governments are organic governments. So whatever the land you're in and the people decide, or the leadership decide, that will be your economic foundations. That's the first part of the confusions and misnomers spread about fascism, is that it's all the same. They differed in their policies, country to country. Typically, when people are talking about the fascist economy and corporatism and things like that, they're referring to the Italian fascism, and which is what we'll be focusing on today because that is the most known and the most talked about branch of fascism that was out there. So we'll be looking at a little known book entitled Economic Foundations of Fascism by Paul Inzig. Now, Paul Inzig was not Italian, was not a fascist. He was Romanian born, lived most of his life in England, and visited Italy as an English citizen. He had a degree in economics, wrote numerous books dealing with economics, and one of them was The Economic Foundations of Fascism. He observed, had access to Mussolini and all the higher ups. He observed the structure of the economic system in Italy and he reported on it. His goal was to clear all the confusions and lies being spread through the British press, the Western press, all of that. Of course, they completely misrepresented fascism in their newspapers, and the common English person, the common American, got a completely twisted view of fascism, just as they do today. How things do not change. So with that goal, he set forth to observing and trying to clarify what exactly the economic foundations of fascism are. And you see today, people, left-wingers, will say, oh, fascism, it was just the corporate elite ruling over everyone and they made the decisions and it's like fascism today and they'll continually misuse the word, and it was nothing like that at all. And then the right wing will say, oh, fascism was socialism, it's just like communism, there's hardly any difference. Once again, they couldn't be more wrong. And Mr. Inzig does a great job of detailing this in his book. So let's take a look at some of what he had to say. In its social aspects, fascism endeavors to conciliate the conflicting interests of the different classes. It does not aim at eliminating class distinctions. On the contrary, it seeks to maintain them with their special characteristics and to obtain collaboration between them. So there you have being explained that fascism was not like communism in the sense where, the doctor and the street sweeper are getting the same amount of pay. No, there are distinctions, as there should be. What fascism does is help regulate them and keep them closer. As of like today in this society, you can go from being completely destitute without even a piece of bread on your plate to being a multi-billionaire, a Soros or a Bill Gates type. I mean, there's a huge gap between the poor and the super rich. Fascism, the easiest way to explain it would be a pay scale set up A to Z. And no one's going lower than A, and no one's going higher than Z. And there's enough distinction between A, B, C, all the way up to Z, that each class has their own lifestyle or their own reward merits for whatever jobs they're going into. Differences arising between employers and employees are settled by conciliation or, should that fail, by the decision of special labor courts, to which they have to be submitted. and whose judgment is binding on both parties. So you often hear the leftists saying, oh, you can't form unions under fascism. Well, you can't do that under communism either, dummies. So I don't understand where that talking point comes from. But what they do have, of course you can't strike and form unions because a part of the production is measured by the government, and the production is for the benefit of the people, the nation, and the direction of the society. So of course you can't just bail out and not work because you're mad about something. The employers and the employees will go in front of a government committee, and the government committee will hear both sides and find what they deem to be fair and place that upon the workers and the employers. And there's no choice after that. They have to respect a decision. And it's not some, oh, the corporate CEOs are good with the government like today and it's all intermingled. No, it's completely separate. And the goal of this government is not making individuals richer. The goal is making the society richer. So there is an intent to find the common ground and make both sides happy as can be and continue on with the productivity. The main object of the corporate state is the planning of production and the determination of distribution in accordance with changing requirements. So much while government doesn't run businesses, government is in oversight. If a brand of something, if certain cars are not being reproduced enough, they may step in and say, well, we need more production out of this company and give them the help to produce more. If, on the other hand, too many cars are being produced, then the government will step in and say, hey, time to slow down. While in the sphere of distribution, the fascist economic system has discarded individualism to a great extent. In the sphere of production, individual initiative still plays and will always play a prominent role. Now, that's the big difference from today, whatever the hell you want to call this society we live in, this hodgepodge of capitalism, liberalism, whatever you want to call it. Let's look at what they're saying there. The sphere of distribution in the fascist economic system has discarded individualism. The distribution, Walmart distributes because they're after profit, and that is it, right? Every company in America produces because they are after profit. They don't give a damn if it's bad for you. Look at McDonald's, for example. Look at all the fast food chains, for example. They do not give two shits that you eat their food and come the age of 60, you have clogged arteries and cancer and you're dying out. Matter of fact, the government loves that. Go on and check out at 60 because they don't have to put too much retirement in it. So, they actually, it's not that they just don't care. They encourage this slow suicide the average American takes part in with eating this junk and a very slothful lifestyle in front of either a video game or a television most of your time or a computer screen. It's like they encourage this stuff. So, and they encourage this stuff, many of these businesses, because they are only concerned with their profit. They are very individualistic in their distribution because they only give a damn about themselves, about their GDP, about their pocketbooks. That's it. In the fascist society, no. Distribution is about the state. It's about the people. It's about what is good for the people is good for the state. What is good for the state is good for the people. Not what is good for Mr. Banker CEO is too bad for everybody else. No. But in the same token, unlike communism, the individual initiative still plays a role in production, meaning there are still, the government's out of it, it's still private businesses, you still have private land, government does not take land like communism as well, so you still have the personal initiative to want to achieve more. If you can't be motivated enough by brotherhood, and having this homogeneous nationalist society and working towards that and working towards great goals, whether that's exploring space or helping the planet or, exploring yourself, whatever it may be. If that's not enough to motivate you to be productive enough, then you still have your individual initiative of working hard to advance yourself and to get more money, a raise, etc., move up the pay scale of A to Z. So that individualistic, the beauty of fascism, why I've come to love it, and why America's very desperate for it, is because it mixes aspects of collectivism and individualism, trying to make things work, trying to find a middle ground between most extremes. All right, let us go on here. It is only when, in the opinion of the authorities, private activity is not in accordance with national interest that they decide to intervene. This intervention may be either active or passive. If the government considers that in a certain direction individual initiative does not adequately meet requirements, it will intervene to stimulate production in that particular branch. And that's what we were just speaking about. That is, they'll step in when they need to. They're not going to tell you how to do. They're not going to micromanage you. But if they see there's a problem, they're going to step in. They're going to set things right. The government will, however, always be ready to intervene in cases of cutthroat competition. A producer can lower his sale prices provided that the reduction is in the result of some new invention or of the application of more efficient methods. But if he tries to ruin his rivals by selling at a loss until they are eliminated from the field, the authorities do not hesitate to take preemptive action. Wow. Who wouldn't like that? I'll tell you who wouldn't like that. You know who wouldn't like that. Those beady-eyed bastards who cutthroat competition all the time, who monopolize on businesses just through that matter. There's numerous incidences of people low selling to drive other businesses out of business. Then they raise their prices back up once other businesses are gone. And it's a dirty, underhanded trick. And it's a perfect representation of what capitalism is. Dog eat dog, greedy against greedy, neighbor against neighbor. That, and you wonder why fascism is so demonized. Oh, do you think a lot of these scumbags would, be in the position they are today if they couldn't use these cutthroat competition or these cutthroat business tactics? No, of course not. Of course not. But yet, people, they want their freedom. I'm free. We're freest in this country when we are anywhere else in the world. I got McDonald's. I got porn on my computer. I got football on my television. What more do you want? What more do you want, American? I mean, this is what the people have been dumbed down to through these greedy CEOs, these media masters, these bastards. And it is because they are, the government and big business is essentially the same in democracies, in capitalism. It's not something you can get around. So of course these beady-eyed bastards and these sheepish goy all take this attitude of fascism is this ultimate evil when it's really their savior. And I think in this country, being America, it's going to come down to, I believe fascism is going to rise again. And I think there are currently no American fascist parties, at least none worth a damn. Believe me, I've joined a few. I've tried to start a few. It's it's apparently just not the time yet. There's not really that many real fascist, let alone fascist organizations I see out there. But in time, they will start to grow more and more. You'll see these people who are now libertarians start to come over to fascism. And why? Because as time goes on, people are going to start to realize there's only two choices to what's coming. Capitalism is going bye-bye, and that cannot be avoided. And what's going to replace it? Well, let's rewind the clock back. History repeats itself. It's either going to be communism or fascism. And you see these pseudo communists, and mind you, I say communism, it's not even a communism, it's just this neoliberal pseudo Marxist doctrine that a lot of the followers don't even know. They want socialism, but they want a welfare state at the same time. And it's like, well, no, socialism is work. It's not welfare states. That's not that's not what Karl Marx was talking about. That's not what Engels was talking about. That's not what any communist was talking about. What they're talking about today. But anyways, we'll just paint it with a broad brush and say communism and fascism. These are going to be your two options. And the people who are more, I feel, have common sense are going to go towards the fascism. And, hopefully it's not too late, because, you see billionaires are putting money into these pseudo-communist organizations now, and, they're getting funded for rallies, and so they already have a base. They already have a ground. Fascists do not. But I do see a lot of the people, who are, like I said, libertarians and who believed in the democratic system and all kinds of other political strains will once they realize there is no other choice but either communism or fascism for what this future is going to be in America, they will start coming over to fascism. And I think you'll start seeing fascist. Maybe it's not going to be called any kind of fascist, type government or type political party, but you will see these kind of political parties rise. It has become part of a system in which both employers and employees have to submit their individual interests to the common good. Now, understand that. Both employers and employees. It's not employers shaking hands with the government saying, hey, we're fucking over these workers. Haha, we're rich. No, no, no. That does not exist. That does not exist. That exists today. That's what today is. In the corporate state, economic initiative is left in private hands. It is supplemented by state intervention only if and when private initiative is considered inadequate to serve public interests. Once again, he hammers this point home in the book as well, because it was a complete misnomer that government is just all over the place in your business. That's what they are today. Once again, that's what they are today. In addition to supplementing individual initiative when it is considered inadequate to serve the requirements of public interest, the fascist regime aims at guiding it, both positively and negatively. Its object is to prevent private initiative from working against public interest, and to stimulate its activities in accordance with public interest. It is not merely the fear of punishment that prevents the great majority of bankers from disregarding the decisions of their corporation, but also the knowledge that their rivals will observe the same rules. So the banks, they were not nationalized. They were still private run, but they had certain rules to follow. And if they did not follow these rules, guess what? You're gone. You're out. There's no bailout for greedy bankers. There's a boot in the butt. Get out of here. That's it. You break the rules, there's trouble. And there's no, you can't grease your way out of it. All right, socialism, carried to its logical conclusion as communism, aims at complete equality of incomes. Fascism does not contemplate going so far. While endeavoring to secure for the working classes their fair share of proceeds of production, fascism wishes to retain the benefits of the incentive to individualistic production represented by profit-earning possibilities. It aims at preventing the earning of excessive profits at the expense of the working classes. Now that's, once again, we go back to our A to Z pay scale. It's, you hit Z. Sorry, Bill Gates, you hit Z in money. You're wealthy. You're going to be rich beyond any money you're going to be able to spend. Z is very well off compared to A, without a doubt. But that's where Z is saying, sorry, you can't keep gobbling up money and using it to promote whatever personal deviance you might have and you want to inflict onto society. Sorry, that kind of shit doesn't fly anymore. And the homeless person out on the street getting walked past every day, that kind of shit doesn't fly anymore either. It is true that the fascist state does not aim at the nationalization of banks, which has become a fundamental point in the socialist program. In reality, however, banks in fascist Italy are to all intents and purposes practically nationalized. Basically what he's saying is, look, they're not forcing these banks to become nationalized or run by the government, but these banks are forced to abide by the laws given down by the government. And this is how you keep these people in check. To wrap it up, Economic Foundations of Fascism, a little known book, but very important, an outside look into the Italian model, and an unbiased look into the Italian model. I've only picked certain quotes from here, but you can get the book. It's a relatively short book. I believe it's only about 150 pages, but it's jam-packed with information. It's a book that flies under the radar, which a lot of books that offer a lot of great information are kind of like that now. So I would definitely recommend, if you're getting into fascism and learning what fascism is, and trying to figure out if you indeed are a political fascist, and if you are willing to put your time and effort into evolving political fascism, this is definitely a book that'll give you at least a broad understanding of the economic foundations that I think we can take from the Italian model and apply it to America. I think it is the best way to go. It makes the most logical sense, and it seems to give everyone a bit of what they want. You do have your vice; it's not completely taken away from you, so that exists. Every man should have their vice, right? We're not Puritans here. We're not denying our nature. We're just controlling our nature. So that exists. The productivity exists. And the benefits, they are individual and collective, which is the real beauty of it. It's not only yourself, hard work, dedication that's going to benefit, but it's your nation, it's your country, it's your people, and most importantly, it's your children. It's the society you bring them up into. And the society they're growing up into now is against them. Is against them. So I want a society for my children. And that's what fascism is.